What a week, huh? And it's only just Tuesday. It's Tuesday, isn't it? So, anyway, good evening, afternoon, or whatever time of the day it is in your part of the world. And tonight, we're taking a break from A, VTuber drama, with what with V Shoujo imploding and all that. And B, just as I was about to start the stream, we all get the news that Ozzy Osbourne died. Shocking, I know, the man actually lived to 76 years with his lifestyle. And he managed to squeeze in one last concert before he died, so I have nothing but respect for the man. Even disregarding all of his eccentricities on the stage, like you remember the bat incident? That was all the rage back in the day. The man just bit off, just bitten into this bat that randomly flew onto the stage. And then they all started to lay into him like it was something else. But anyway, let me actually turn on some background music while we are at it. Once again, we'll be back to Dungeon Synth, because I found that it works really well for our intents and purposes, just the right mix of chill and atmospheric, I'd say. Let's go with this album. I think it should be fine. And we can begin. Chapter 7, The Children of Lyr. Land of song, cried the warrior bard, though all the world betrays thee, one sword at least thy rights shall guard, one faithful harp shall praise thee. Thomas Moore. Yeah, rip legend. The Wicklow sky is pale grey. The clouds have that faint, luminous quality to them that they often seem to have on the very coldest days of the year. You look out from your window at the Wolf's Head, out west towards Glenkildove. You came down from Dublin yesterday evening, arriving so tired that for once you simply fell into a dreamless sleep. Claudia and Daniel had already left by the time you awoke. Mayor told you that they said something about going to Rosslayer, a port to the south. Kitty has gone to see her mother, everyone else has agreed to meet back at the Wolf's Head this evening. The mountains are already crowned with white. The sunlight glitters on the waterfalls descending in their slopes, rushing down in frothing torrents fed by the winter rainfall. There are secret glens and hidden places up there, abandoned mine shafts and the ruins of castles and farmhouses. Few know these hills as well as Cormac did. As a teenager, he would restlessly walk from one end of the mountains to the other, spending weeks out there. There are hundreds of places that he could be hiding. But he is not in any of them. You know that. He's much closer at hand. And tonight, you will find him. You think over everything that has happened since you got Cormac's call, a week and a lifetime ago. When all of this began, you wanted answers. Now you found them. Over the past few crowded days, you've learned dark truths about Glenkildove, about Cormac, and others like him. How do you feel about your findings? Let's be... well, we are going with our curious agenda all the way, so... I've come to agree with Claudia. To end the horror that these creatures inflict on the world, we must obtain irrefutable evidence of the supernatural and publish it. Once the world has been warned, there can be a reckoning. Alternatively, we can go with, I've learned enough to realize that there is money to be made here. Institutions such as the Arcanum and FODA have a great hunger for information. I could satisfy that hunger for a price. When I'm finished here, I'm going to go on the hunt once again, working for hire. But no, we're gonna be optimistic, rather idealistic. And who knows, maybe we will bring about one of the endgame scenarios, be it the apocalypse, the Gehenna, or something else. You go downstairs. Niam is sprawled out on the floor of the sitting room, working on a coloring book. She is frowning in concentration, the tip of her tongue emerging from the corner of her mouth. "Cousin Liam," she says, running up to give you a hug. "Do you like my unicorn?" She indicates the animal she has been coloring in rainbow colors. It appears to be just a horse, but she has drawn a horn on its head. It's beautiful. I love how colorful it is. You've recently learned who Niam's biological parents were. Her father is Cormac. You wonder if Niam had inherited her father's true nature. You think of it now. But you keep all such thoughts from your face. Is that Liam? Mayor's voice calls from outside. Come out into the yard. Mammy's smoking, Niam tells you, her brown eyes wide. Tell her she shouldn't. It's really bad for you. Mayor is sitting smoking on a bench outside. Bran and Survivor are playing at her feet. Survivor recognizes you with a joyful yelp and lopes over to shove her head into your hands, demanding to be petted and made much of. Yes, I know, Mayor says. My daughter's an arc. When I started smoking again, I tried to conceal it from her, but I'd swear it's like she has X-ray eyes. Your aunt looks tired. Judging by her red-rimmed eyes, she has been crying. She looks up and seems to see in your eyes that you know the truth about Niam. You knew? All along you knew. Why didn't you tell me? That's a bit accusatory, so let's go with... I think I understand. Why you didn't tell me, I mean. But it's time to be honest with each other. Mayor gestures for you to take a seat. She scratches Bran behind the ears. I like these dogs, she says. And God knows Survivor is certainly taken to you. She adds, smiling wryly at the sight of Survivor staring adoringly up at you. Mayor takes a drag of her cigarette. Still, I miss Misty sometimes. Do you remember her? The border collie I used to have. Not an ounce of sense in her head, that dog. Thought everyone and everything was her friend. She points to the woods across the parking lot. I found her one morning last year, strung up from a branch. They must have called her over from across the yard. She'd come running, of course. Then they shot her in the back of the head, hung her up where I'd see her. Whoever did that, are going to pay. Mayor shrugs, looking warily. Maybe, maybe not. Your aunt's eyes are distant. Cormac came to me 4 years ago with his baby daughter, a little girl called Niam he couldn't care for. He asked me to look after her. You didn't ask him where he'd been? About what happened at Glenkildove? I didn't have to. I could see on his face where he'd been. I just hoped he'd been able to leave for good. And Glenkildove? Something horrible happened there. I already knew that. I didn't need to know anything more. Mayor takes a last drag of her cigarette and throws it away. I never wanted children. Never really saw the appeal. The original idea was that I'd only look after Niam for a while until I could find somewhere better for her. But time passed by and... She looks at you. I love her. I never ever want to be without her. But Orla O'Donnell, Cormac's grandma, she always did want children. Daughters specifically, but she got 5 sons instead, and they only had boys, and she was never done telling them what a disappointment they were. Now Niam shows up and Orla notices how much she looks like an O'Donnell. It doesn't take her very long to figure it out. She doesn't care about Cormac. He was just another disappointment to her. Alive or dead, it makes no difference to her. It's Niam that she wants. She wants the daughter she was cheated out of. That's why she had her boys kill Misty. They're trying to scare me into giving Niam up. But I won't let Orla take her. No matter what. And that is a very good thing to know. Also, looks like there is a bit of an overlap, so let's see if that can be arranged. Because it looks like OBS has finally decided to start capturing this specific type of games. There we go. Much better now. And yes, we will be protecting them. No matter what. Why didn't you tell me? I would never let anything happen to you or Niam. Mayor smiles at you, looking genuinely shocked. You're a good boy. You really are. Orla is a very powerful woman here in Ballyavon. The guards are in her pocket. Guard Sergeant Heaney calls her all the shots around here, and he's been taking O'Donnell money for years. When she realized she couldn't scare me after Misty, she'd been using the law. She hired a Dublin law firm, one of the best, and they're trying to take Niamh from me. I don't have the money to fight the case much longer. They're going to take my little girl away from me. She looks away. You realize that she is close to tears. What I wanted to ask of you is this. If Orla succeeds, or if something happened to me, would you take Niamh with you to London? It'll be harder for Orla to get at Niamh there, where she doesn't have the kind of power she does here. Would you? I don't ask it lightly. I'll do it, Mayor. If it has to be that way. I'll care for Niamh as long as you both need me to. But maybe we'll be able to stop Orla another way first. You can see in your aunt's eyes how much this means to her. Thank you. Thank you. She squeezes your hand. As you are considering the situation, your phone rings. It's Claudia. Liam, Daniel and I are in Rosslare Harbor. You've got to come as soon as possible. It's about the situation with a Japanese tourist in Dublin. I can't say any more of the phone. She's obviously talking about Noriko. If you go to Rosslare to meet Daniel and Claudia today, you will not be able to help Mare against Orla. But whatever Claudia is doing in Rosslare might be vital to the hunt. You need to make a decision. Some options shown in bold will only be visible if you have high desperation score. These represent desperate measures, extreme actions you are prepared to contemplate taking if you feel that the need is urgent enough. Desperate measures will always have a dramatic impact on a situation, but they will also always have equally extreme consequences. Well, that's what they say, desperate times call for desperate measures. However, we have none for now. What we do have is this option. The Arcanum are well connected and influential in Irish society. I'm going to contact them and ask them for their help against the O'Donnells in court. And that will leave me with time to go to Rosslare afterwards. Option 2. From what Mayor said, it seems as though Sergeant Heaney is the key to Orla O'Donnell's power here in Ballyavon. She must have some kind of hold on him. I'm going to find out what it is. Option 3. I'm going to arrange a sit-down with Orla O'Donnell to try to persuade her not to pursue this feud with Mayor any longer. Something tells me that's not gonna work. And option 4. I'm going to go to Rosslare to meet with Daniel and Claudia. The situation with Mayor and the O'Donnells will have to wait. This is more important. Considering we are tying ourselves with the Arcanum at the hip so much, we're going to go with the first option. That seems logical, at least. You return to your room and call the number of Tottenham's offices in Trinity. Inevitably, he refuses to get a mobile phone. When he answers, you explain the situation and what you need from the Arcanum. Tottenham is pleased to hear from you and hears you out. I see. A dreadful situation, undoubtedly. I quite share your desire to assist your aunt. However, allow me to be blunt, Lieutenant Grogan. I am sure you would appreciate the clarity. Our budget is not limitless, nor is our power to control events behind the scenes. And both are at the discretion of our masters in London. We are already expending considerable amounts of money and influence in extricating your friend Mr. Daniel on from his financial embarrassments. Eyebrows will be raised in London if we take on the astronomical costs of a quixotic legal crusade over young Miss Niamh Grogan. Do you follow? All too clearly. It seems as though you have a choice to make. So we can either ask Tottenham to halt the proceedings to clear Daniel's debt and instead take on Mayor's case. Or we tell Tottenham to continue clearing Daniel's debt. He's been a loyal ally since our hunt began. I won't betray him even for Mayor. Well, we know Daniel is a bit of a rotten piece of work. You remember last time I called him prime ghoul material? No telling if he already isn't. Or option 3. I tell Tottenham that I know where Cormac is and tonight I'm going there. Perhaps I can capture him or even convince him to willingly turn himself over to the Arcanum for study and questioning. Would they take on Mayor's case in exchange? Bit of a bluff. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. No telling at this point in time. I am personally leaning more towards at least either first or third option. But what about you? Any other suggestions? I will hear them out. I'll give you some time to contemplate. In the meantime, maybe I can at least toss a coin, but no. A coin won't be enough in that case. Absolutely not. First option. Also, you are definitely not showing up properly with white on white, but hey. Well, first option it is then. I asked Tottenham to halt the proceedings to clear Daniel's debt and instead take on Mayer's case. Daniel's problems are out of his own making after all. Tottenham assents. Very well. I'll instruct Miss Petherbridge, our fixer as Nicholas calls her, to drop the Owen business and instead send her formidable skills to work on the little Niam's case. You can expect results within the next couple of weeks. Goodbye, Lieutenant Grogan. It has been, as always, a pleasure. Nothing now prevents you from joining Claudia and Daniel in Rosslare. The drive along the coast is eerie. Beyond the black cliffs to your left, there is nothing but the grey, flat mirror of the Irish Sea. To the right, fog-shrouded bogs and woods, and no sound but the mournful screech of seabirds. I suppose we can listen to one of Claudia's Cahoots podcasts while we are there. Or rather, while we're driving. You select an episode at random and press play. Hello everybody, welcome to Cahoots. We know the name is ridiculous and we don't care. I'm Claudia Fox, investigative reporter and patron saint of angry loners everywhere. Today's episode is brought to you by POWR Vitamin Supplements. Supplements that are triple tested by top labs in the USA. Take them and feel stronger, healthier and younger. Claudia proceeds to tell the story of Professor Noor Mazloum of Alexandria University in Egypt, a lecturer in classical history. Former students praise her as a warm, kind and generous mentor, a woman whose passion for Egyptian history and in particular for her beloved Alexandria was inspiring to many. Professor Mazloum knew every street and alleyway in Alexandria, every ancient temple and every new-built mosque, every slum and every palace. She spoke of its past inhabitants, from Ptolemy I to Lawrence Durrell, with an extraordinary insight and familiarity. Even lifelong residents of Alexandria learned new things about it from an hour or so in conversation with Mazloum. Students who were invited to her home, an Ottoman-era townhouse near the docks, were fascinated by it. Although small from the outside, once inside, its refreshing, cool, arched passages, secret side rooms, balconies, and little courtyards seemed to go on forever, and all of it spilling over with books and ancient artifacts and curios. Even students who spent many evenings there, talking and smoking shisha with Mazloum and her friends, never quite got a grasp on the house's geography. Mazloum always held historical Alexandria up as a model of open-source research and multiculturalism before there were words for such things. I think they used to call it other words back in that time. Would be something like... Just when I was about to remember that word, it escaped my memory. Maybe it'll come to me later. We'll have to see. She contrasted the glory of the Library of Alexandria with its once great rival in Pergamon. She dismissed the Library of Pergamon as one of the hoarders of information, people who jealously hid their lore away instead of sharing it and letting it grow and flourish. Mazloum practiced what she preached. Any student who wanted to borrow a book from her unbelievably extensive collection, including many texts thought to have been lost forever, was welcome to do so. Mazloum herself seemed to have the strangest array of friends and contacts all over the world, despite rarely if ever leaving Alexandria. Mazloum was a whirlwind of activity during the Arab Spring of 2011, involved in both protests and in the organization and preparation for democratic government. but she was disappointed by the failure of true democracy to take root afterwards. Students from this time reported her seeming uncharacteristically disheartened and fatigued as the post-revolutionary euphoria in Egypt wore off and the nation's mood soured. One night, after an evening of shisha and debate, she said goodnight to some of her students who were staying overnight in her house and went up to bed. When she did not turn up for lectures the next day, the first time she'd missed a class in 20 years, somebody went to check on her. They found her in her bedroom. Somebody had slashed her throat, then cut her open and removed her lungs, intestines, stomach, and liver and placed them in wine-filled mason jars located around the room. They had then covered her body with salt. Later DNA testing would confirm that these were certainly Muslim's internal organs, even though they appeared to be hundreds of years old. A message in Greek was scrawled in blood on the wall. The empire never fell. Long live the throne of Satan. Other than to note that the throne of Satan is the name given in the book of Revelation to the altar of Pergamon, Claudia relays these details and ends the episode without comment. Well, the throne of Satan definitely points me to the fact that our good professor there most likely had enemies among the Baali. Who are Baali, you say? They are the absolute worst among vampire societies, because they are demon worshippers. Let me pull up a quick bit of information on what Baali actually are, so that you understand the severity and the gravity of the situation. So, Baali. The go-to clan for extreme edginess, Lovecraftian levels of horror, and unadulterated, pure evil on the surface, but has hidden depths few can enjoy. Somewhere back in ye good old days, the Happy Clan suddenly faced a new threat consisting of an absolutely huge bloodline of vampires, blatantly worshipping demons and telling the rest to conform and die, making an enemy with every other clan in existence, particularly the Assamites and Salubri, on a bloody campaign of world conquest. In general, they are considered evil in the extreme and appearing to try destroying the world, with their modern counterparts adding to the suspicions. Because of this, even more blatantly immoral clans like the followers of Set, Tzimisce, and Ravnos are enemies with them. You know you've done fucked up on Sabbat. The edgiest immature vampire sect in the setting kills you on sight and devotes a secret inquisition to root out anything resembling Baali. Exactly how they came to be is unclear, but it's generally thought when Saulot, or Cappadocius, aka Ashur, was taking a walk down Asia, he decided to annihilate a monstrous clan of people who fucked their children, mutilated themselves, and sacrificed blood to eldritch horrors under the earth, and dropped blood on the pit of corpses he filled by slaughtering everyone because why not? 3 survivors emerged, and swore hateful revenge. Ironically, this was the start of the roller coaster of shit ride as the Set cultists were doing those atrocities to keep the demons satiated, thus keeping the world intact. These assholes, somehow figuring enough of their condition to not walk in sunlight, decided that the best way to spend eternity was to keep worshipping the things which might be earthbound, aka demons, or Malfians, things from Wraith the Oblivion game, and somehow the Baali resulted in direct opposition of that tribe's reason for existence, save for Moloch, but we'll get to that. In general, the Baali are thought to have had 3 Methuselahs, that's 4th generation, vampires, leading them, and they were largely turned extinct somewhere around after the Dark Ages, when Christianity was established enough that anything that didn't have a cross as its holy symbol was put to the torch. The Baali had their best days in Old Carthage by hiding amongst the Bruja who'd built it as vampire paradise, only for the Ventru to veni vidi vici their asses and burn it all to the ground. Their other havens in Middle East had got the shaft by the surge of Islam, which managed to annihilate nearly all Baali that remained in the Arabian Peninsula when Muslim Assamites shanked every last of the fuckers with a stake and left them in the sun after seeing their horrid practices. Keeping a pit of rotting corpses tends to be hard when Arab civilization develops sanitation and you can't disguise the smell. In retribution, the Baali summoned the Dekani, the 36 aspects of Namtaru, an earthbound demon, and cursed the Assamites with a thirst for blood. So yeah, the children Baali worship have qualities that somehow allude to both different entities. Since we know Baali contacted and harnessed the power of Namtaru, suffering under pure sunlight is a guaranteed earthborn. We can assume the Baali worship earthborn demons. Right? But then the book Black Hand, Guide to the Tal Mahera, suggests the children of the Baali may be Malfians, horrid entities dwelling in a phase of deathless Lovecraftian sleep. These things have physical bodies in self-created tombs in the earth, but their souls and minds exist in the labyrinth, forever dreaming. Most Baali seek to keep the Malfians' consciousness from reuniting with their terrestrial bodies through sacrifices and depravity, though some try to wake the entities. If this lore were correct, it would suggest, as the Wraith Core book does, that the Malfians are indeed physical manifestations of the pain of death itself, literally taken in the form of flesh and soul forever severed. Also, Malfians use a hive mind for their minions, and Baali's oldest, even pre-vampirism, morality is the path of the hive, which suspiciously sounds similar. So the Baali may be a tragic group of people trying to stop Malfians before Saulot or Ashur thought about riding in and doing a nice job breaking it hero. As a final argument, Earthbound don't need depravity, they need faith, channeled, organized religious fervor, so Baali committing horror rituals to keep entities satisfied means the entities they satisfy are Malfians. Except one of the three Baali sects, the Moloch's children, called Molochism, shows some interest in being played without going sick fuck a la extreme. Molochim use the strange moral code called Path of the Hive, avoid killing and endangering mortals without reason, believe Abel to be the original vampire, and think of themselves God's shadow on earth, committing necessary atrocities to keep Malfians asleep. Hell, abusing innocents and feeding forcefully on them is a level 4 sin, which means more sinful than humanity's own values, which should speak volumes in a fucked up world. Sort of like tragic villains, the true Black Hand, and even a few mages actively cooperate with them to keep the big bad evil guys sleeping in the beyond, because once the Malfians are afoot, all politics would fly out the window with a shitstorm that would make Gehenna look like a Disneyland story. But I digress. The few modern-day Baali usually stay hidden in some isolated coven or infiltrate the Tremere for protection. Some theories suggest that the reason why they do what they do, namely pissing everyone off and trying to turn the third millennium into the 41st, is because all the evil deeds keep the children asleep. This is backed by the fact that the Baali symbol is an upside-down version of Lucifer Morningstar's personal symbol, which I cannot show in here because, well, you know how it is with pentagrams. But the timeline is a bit vague regarding the issue. The Earthbound posed as the gods of ancient Phoenicia, and the Baali were said to be their worshippers, so Lucifer's actions must have taken place during the height of the Sumerian Empire. In this time, Lucifer empowered the Baali to be his initial agents, only for the whole thing to fall apart in a millennium or two. There's also the chance that this is bullshit because what the Baali have done empowered them more than anything, and post-1999 in particular, there are multiple Earthbound as well as Fallen openly operating left and right after escaping the Abyss. And the Baali have done jack and shit to change, if not going worse in edginess. Basically, most modern-day Baali are stereotypical Hollywood Satanists, but in the Middle Ages, they were threefold. Edgy Gothic Satanists, Lovecraftian researchers for true names of beings, and disgusting hive-minded literal insect worshippers who would make captives swallow maggots they would feed on the insides and burst forth as flies and or use their flesh and blood for the swarm. So yeah, good luck sleeping tonight, by the way. Now, back to the text at hand. The fog is so dense that it's a relief to arrive at the outskirts of Rosslayer and see the shapes of houses emerge. You find Claudia and Daniel down by the old docks, sitting on the roof of Daniel's Tesla. They're taking turns with a pair of high-powered binoculars to look at Rosslayer's cargo port, a bursting place crowded with shipping across the bay. Claudia sees you and slides down off the car, Daniel following. Good, you're here. There's a ship out there in the cargo port. It's called the Magdalena. I got a tip about it this morning. It's bringing something that Noriko needs. I want to know what it is. Why? What good? I don't know. Noriko is going to be looking for us after we double-crossed her. Should we risk this? It's why we should. This is how you fight bots. They're very powerful, but they are very dependent on their networks. Financial networks, supply networks, spy networks. Learning and exposing everything we can about Noriko's operations in Ireland is our best way to defend ourselves against whatever she has planned for us. Claudia and Daniel have been discussing how to get aboard the Magdalena. The problem is getting into the cargo port. These days, European cargo ports are high-security places that members of the public are not permitted to enter. Claudia has the layout of the Magdalena on her tablet. If you can get aboard, She can give you directions over an earpiece while Daniel keeps an eye out on the binoculars. Daniel's been buying all this high-tech gear. I guess rich idiots have their uses. Daniel gives a mock bow. It's good not to have to worry about money again. He clearly appreciates the steps you took to clear his debt. You decide not to bring up the fact that you've renegotiated the deal with the Arcanum and they're no longer going to pay his debts. He'll find that out soon enough. How are we going to approach it? I will try to hack the port security system and issue an ID for myself. That's intelligence plus science and technology. We've got intelligence still 2, science and technology 2. Maybe. I will try to steal an ID from a worker at the port. That's dexterity 3, clandestine 2. A little better on the odds. Or finally, I'll try to bluff my way into the port. Manipulation and subterfuge. Manipulation 1, subterfuge 0, so that's a no-go as well. The fourth option is, we'll obtain an inflatable boat and sail it out to sea with Daniel, then try to swim back to the cargo port and board the Magdalena. Stuck looking at the Malthians, huh? You know what they say about cats and curiosity. Besides, you could have just asked and I would have given you another quick lecture on what those are. But taking into account the options we have in front of us, I am leaning towards the second option. Alternatively, the fourth one. So, fourth it is then. Inflatable boat. There are dinghies available for rent at the old harbor. That's stamina and athletics. Daniel pays for the use of one for the afternoon along with a wetsuit with a swipe of his credit card. You pay cash for the use of one for the afternoon along with a wetsuit. The sea is flat and calm and you make good progress, rowing with the dinghy's long plastic paddles. In a couple of hours, you are as close as you can get to the cargo port without the risk of being spotted. While you change into the wetsuit, Daniel scans the ships of the port with his binoculars. There she is. That's the Magdalena. You're sure about this? If you ask me, this plan's insane even by my standards. He has a point. You're still some distance from the Magdalena, and to avoid detection, you will have to make most of the swim underwater. Just like Devil's Cauldron back in Glenkildove. That's a fun memory for you? Huh. Then you're over the side and into the freezing grey waters of the Irish Sea. The crushing cold takes your breath away. You risk a few strokes on the surface before ducking your head down and begin to swim underwater. It is a hugely challenging swim, but you are in peak condition. You plunge through the water like a torpedo, invisible to anyone watching from above, and swim unerringly towards your target. Soon, you have reached it. It looms above you in the water, like a great rust-red monolith. You find the metal ladder set into the hull, and you surface, clinging to the side. I can see you, Daniel confirms over your waterproof earpiece. Hi, Liam. Enjoy your swim? No, but I'm here now. What's the situation? I don't see anyone on deck at the moment. You can climb up. Hand over hand, you haul yourself up the ladder and onto the deck of the Magdalena. Claudia's voice now is in the ear. Okay, Liam, there's a few things on the manifest we could check out. There's the stones, there's guns, and there are books. The notes on the cargo manifest we found calls them codices. If we can get documented evidence of the rot smuggling gemstones, if that's what stones means, or guns, that could be very useful. But I'm curious about those codices too. I don't know how much time we have. It's your call, Liam. The stones, the guns, or the codices? Well, the codices will obviously make us closer to Claudia, but the guns are a serious offense, and the stones... It honestly could be very much anything. Not just the gemstones, but also, oh, I don't know, some old ritual stones that are from ancient Sumer or some place similar. But stones could be a very interesting option, because precisely because it's undefined, let's put it that way, while the guns and codices are very self-explanatory. Stones, then. Alright. There are a few crew members aboard the ship, but you avoid them using a route chosen for you by Daniel. Now, following Claudia's instructions, you open a hatch into a meticulously clean storage area, harshly lit by fluorescent lights. Lining the walls, hidden away behind hardened glass, are rows upon rows of uncut gemstones, rubies, emeralds, and sapphires. They glow with an eerie beauty under the light. The collection here must be worth millions. You describe what you see to the others. Daniel lets out a low whistle. Nice. What do you think? We could split it 3 ways. Make out like bandits. Be serious. Liam would never be able to get them off the ship even if he could get at them. We just need to get evidence that the rots are smuggling gemstones. Sounds like quitting talk, Daniel observes disapprovingly. Even if he can't take them all, he could throw them into the sea. That'd be hitting nautical word hurts. In the wallet. So, document the gems. Safer option. Now that's a strange one. I'm going to document the gems. It's safer. I'm just going to document the gems. In the long term, that will be a more effective strategy. I guess those two are the difference in approach that will shape our overall personality. Or, I'm going to try to get the shelves open, pocket some gems for myself, and then throw the rest away as Daniel suggests. That's dexterity and clandestine. 3 and 2. Something tells me that's not gonna work the way we'd like to, so... Option 2? Option 2 might be our best bet, honestly. Oh, it's 1 or 2. In the long term, that'll be a more effective strategy. You take numerous pictures and a few short videos, moving around the space and homing in on key details of the gemstones. You boot up the PC at a nearby workstation and download everything on it to a USB key. You have accumulated a great deal of evidence on how the vampires are smuggling gemstones across international borders. If Claudia is right about how powerful the vampires are, maybe they'll be able to suppress this information. But by distributing it across hunter channels online, you'll make sure it's too widespread to simply be erased. It'll be another piece of evidence when the reckoning comes. Okay, I think you should get off the ship now. But Daniel disagrees. I'm not seeing much activity on the deck. I think most of the crew are on shore. We've got time for one more thing. What will you do? We can risk investigating either the guns or codices, or we can not push our luck and slip ashore. We've already played it pretty safe, so maybe we can up the ante a little bit by investigating the codices. If anything, we should be able to slip away in theory. Right? That's what I tell myself to keep it a little more manageable. One pew, but also book. Either pew or book. But I personally am leaning towards the codices, but sure, we can go with the guns as well. Or rather, guns, just guns. You're making your way across the deck when Daniel's hissed warning comes through, a moment or so too late. Hey, what the fuck? It is one of the Magdalena's crew, a huge, very muscular Filipino man. You walked right into him, turning a corner around the multicolored tower of containers. He's glaring at you suspiciously, his pupils tiny pinpricks and sweat beading on his forehead. Telltale signs of meth use. What will you do? We can try to knock him out. That's strength and melee. Decent chances there. We can try to bluff our way out of this situation. That's wits and subterfuge, which is not gonna fly, I'm guessing. Or I will run to the side and dive off the ship, which is dexterity and athletics. Let's see, dexterity and athletics could also work. But honestly, I'm leaning towards more trying to knock him out. Better chances overall, if you ask me. So let's go for that one. You throw everything you've got into a punch at the sailor's midriff. The sailor blinks but can't move fast enough to block your blow. He doubles over and you follow up with a precisely aimed kick to his forehead. It knocks him cold and he crumples to the deck. But the noise of your fight will have attracted attention. It's time to leave. You strip out of the wetsuit and change into your street clothes, which you've been carrying in a waterproof pouch around your waist. You return to the gangway as quickly as possible. After Daniel gives you the all clear, you hurry off into the port, where you're soon lost in the crowds. No additional information for us, then. Or rather, no additional evidence. Daniel shakes his head. Damn, you fucking did it, Liam. That was incredible. Claudia nods. Well done. You agree to meet the other two back at the Wolf's Head. You return to the jeep for the long drive north. You've carried out a daring and risky mission of espionage on a Rot-owned vessel. You're truly a veteran hunter now. A long drive back awaits you. Well, you know what it is. Time to listen to another of Claudia's podcasts, because boy, they are entertaining. They actually are. Achievement unlocked, Mulder and Scully. Listen to 3 of Claudia's podcasts. You select an episode at random and press play. Hello, this is Cahoots and I'm Claudia Fox, or at least that's what I tell myself when I wake up in a cold sweat at 3 in the morning. Do you ever think about the ending things, listener? I'm not being flippant. Cahoots metrics show that our target demographic is worryingly likely to struggle with suicidal ideation. For what it's worth, I say please hold on. Hard times are coming. We all know that. But it just means we're going to need all the good people we have. Yeah, you know what, you have a point. You do have a point in there. As Claudia explains, the cybersecurity branch of the FBI typically deals with online espionage. Fraud, and dark web arms and drug deals. But in the spring of 2019, they began to realize that they might be dealing with a serial killer as well. A troubling pattern had emerged across the US. A series of suicides, most of them teenagers. All of the victims had killed themselves in the same manner, hanging. And their internet profiles all told the same story. A few months before, they had all made a new friend online, a person who presented themselves as a teenager, usually of the same gender as themselves, who went by the handle Beeb, and used the image of a cuddly purple teddy bear as an avatar. And Beeb convinced these teenagers to kill themselves. The methods of persuasion varied. Sometimes they blatantly encouraged existing suicidal thoughts, even proposing a suicide pact. At other times, Beeb undermined their victims' mental state more subtly with emotional abuse, moving gradually from thoughtfulness and caring to cold, sneering cruelty. The only constant was that they always seemed to implant the idea of hanging into the victims' minds. The FBI contacted their overseas counterparts and discovered that this was a global phenomenon. Beeb had struck in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, and Latin America. Beeb had persuaded well over 100 young people to kill themselves and seemed to be ramping up. Tracing the accounts Beeb had used was a bewildering months-long chase across the servers and fiber optic networks of the entire world. Their avatar proved to be extraordinarily adept at concealment. But eventually, the real Beeb's location was uncovered. An apartment in a concrete high-rise in western Taipei, Taiwan's sprawling capital. A team of FBI agents and local Taiwanese police broke down the apartment's door and charged in. They were greeted by an appalling stench. A bloated dead body hung suspended from the light fixture in the living room. On the table beyond, a laptop was running in a never-ending stream of code, its screen glowing green in the darkness. Investigation discovered that the owner of the apartment, one Chang Feng, had been an engineer for a Taipei software company. He had quit his job abruptly and without explanation in the winter of 2018. Colleagues remembered him as a quiet, withdrawn, and, as many put it, boring. He was a competent programmer, but lacking any real spark of imagination. He had been easily replaced after leaving, and few people had even registered his absence at all. The autopsy on Chang's rotting corpse revealed something unsettling. He had been dead for a long time, certainly before most of Beeb's online activities took place, perhaps before any of them. There was also the code. Neither the FBI's cybersecurity experts nor the civilian consultants they brought could make any sense of it whatsoever. Nor could they make the machine stop running it. Did they have the wrong person? Was the real Beeb still out there? Or had Cheng somehow created a self-replicating AI chatbot capable of talking human beings into killing themselves? His profile didn't indicate that he was capable of anything so extraordinarily complex. But what other explanation was there? Only one that nobody at the FBI would dare to openly put forward. There was something so malign and so angry buried in this quiet, unassuming man that it did not die with him, but instead expanded into the electronic world, spreading pain and horror wherever it went. Whatever the case, the lead agent on the investigation, Agent Tina Hernandez, had Cheng's laptop destroyed. This was technically illegal since it was evidence on the case, but she took full responsibility, saying only that she had 2 teenage daughters herself. Beeb had not been active online since then. What noise? There was no noise. That's just my dog barking out in the yard. Speaking of, time to put on the next album, which I'm thinking is going to be this one. It is while you're walking up to the wolf's head that your phone rings, the number unknown. You answer it and are greeted by a cultivated, American accented voice. Lieutenant Grogan, my name is Arthur Snow. I believe we met briefly at the poetically named Magpie's Nest. At the time we were strangers. I believe it is time for us to be strangers no longer. Please come and see me at the Glen of Lear at the Red Branch Knights Camp. I wish to talk about Cormac O'Donnell. He hangs up, but he has you hooked and he must know it. Just what does he know about Cormac O'Donnell? And what is he planning? If all goes well, you should find Cormac tonight, now that you have figured out where he's hiding, but Arthur Snow and his Red Branch Knights might complicate matters. You decide that it's best to see what he wants. Before heading over to the Glen of Lear, some 10 miles beyond Ballyavon, you look up the Red Branch Knights on your phone. Their website advertises them as a place where men can be men, a summer retreat where men can go to reconnect with each other and their own masculinity, where they can learn to ride, box, hunt, and hawk. It's overseen by the renowned Jungian psychologist Arthur Snow. But it was supposed to have ended in August. Why are there still people in late October? You arrive at the Glen of Lear, a pretty little valley through which a sluggish, shallow brown river runs. The Red Branch Knights campsite is down a dirt track, barred by a gate with a sign reading, "Sovereign Territory, Stay Away." It has been left open for you. You drive down the road beyond, into a complex of log buildings. Yellowing deer skulls have been placed above most every doorway. Over by the river, a bonfire is blazing next to a pit filled with boiling water, judging by the steam rising up from it. A man stands by the pit, stirring it with a long, hooked pole. From the moment you get out of your jeep, you feel the pressure of eyes on you. There are men watching you from the buildings. They all have a haggard, unkempt look about them. They're gaunt and thin, their gaze direct and unblinking. Most are wearing shorts and t-shirts, despite the chill. The only one of them who seems clean and in good shape is the crew-cut younger man who lounges on the veranda of the largest house. He is stripped to his waist despite the cold, showing off his leanly muscular physique and a prominent shoulder tattoo. Who dares wins. You recognize him. It is the man who was with Snow at the Magpie's Nest when you first met. Snow referred to him as Jamie. The camp stinks with the mingled odors of sweat, urine, unwashed clothes, and boiling meat. This last evidently comes from the pit. Despite the smell, you manage to remain expressionless, and Jamie frowns. He clearly expected you to gag and seems disappointed. He gets to his feet. "Liam Grogan," he says, his accent working-class Northern English. "I had a feeling we'd meet again." Really? I forgot he even existed 5 minutes after we met. Which is not an exaggeration, I did forget about Snow. Jamie curls his lips. "Then I'll have to do something more memorable this time, won't I?" He stretches like a cat. "Dr. Snow is meditating. He'll see you when he sees you," says Jamie. He spreads his arms. "But never mind, you can join our feast. I'll get the warrior's portion, but I'm sure you can have some leftover scraps." He points to the pit. Once again, Irish language, no idea how to pronounce that. Our fullacht fiad. To you, meat is something wrapped in plastic that you buy at the supermarket. To us, it's an animal, something we've killed ourselves with bow and arrow. Looks like your men are absolutely thriving on that diet, I say, looking around pointedly at the gaunt figures. "Around here," Jamie says, "you eat what you kill. And if you're not a killer, you go hungry. Some of these men ain't real killers, but hunger will change that." Jamie starts pacing around, each circuit bringing him nearer and nearer to you. "We're living like men should do, like they used to in ancient Celtic times. It's easy for me. You could airdrop me anywhere in the fucking world. Borneo jungle, Gobi desert, Afghan mountains, with nothing but a knife and a hatchet, and I'll survive and thrive. I'm Sass, mate. I know exactly what kind of sound a man makes when you cut his throat from behind." What a nice reference to Christopher Lee. "I've killed 5 men hand to hand, 7 with a rifle. Dr. Snow, he knows that the world needs real men like me again. Real alpha males, not the kind of pussies who faint at the sight of blood. You're out of your depth here, Grogan. You're messing with forces you don't understand." You are beginning to suspect that Jamie has never been anywhere near the SAS. You're special forces yourself, and in your experience, real SAS and SBS veterans don't tend to talk about missions at all, and they certainly don't brag about their kill count. Jamie is clearly performing for the benefit of those watching, trying to intimidate you so as to further cement his authority over them. If you're able to show him up, perhaps his tight grip on the Red Branch Knights will be loosened. Well, considering we are the SAS ourselves, let's go for the automatic success. And tell this little shitstain that he is not SAS, and never will be. But 1 minute. So yes, the automatic success is a safe option, but other ones are. Simply ignore his attempts to shake me. Composure and awareness. Composure 3, awareness 1. We'll turn the tables and push back, trying to intimidate him instead. That's resolve and intimidation. Or challenge him to a boxing match. That's stamina and melee. The best option so far, but as I said, I'd rather go for the automatic success. You're SAS, eh? Jamie nods. There's a slight wariness in his eyes, although he tries to disguise it. Yeah, 22nd Special Air Service. What's up? What of it, mate? What's the color of the boathouse at Hereford? He looks at you in confusion. What? You're a SAS, right? Go on then. What's the color of the boathouse at Hereford? What? Fuck off. Fuck off! Jamie's anger is clearly bluster. You've won this engagement, and you can see that Jamie's failure to answer has not gone unnoticed by some of the Red Branch Knights, who are staring hard at him now. You vaguely wonder if there really is a boathouse at Hereford, and if so, what color it is. I think that will do, says a quiet, authoritative voice. Arthur Snow stands in the doorway. He's dressed as immaculately as before, in a three-piece suit and shining shoes. He ushers you inside, into a long and dark room that smells of smoke and spices. A fire crackles at the other corner of the room. Snow casts himself down on his haunches before it and motions you to do likewise. His one eye gleams in the dancing firelight. You'll have to forgive Jamie if he was rude or obstreperous. The boy is an animal, and like all animals, he grows restless before the coming storm. I can handle the likes of Jamie. You wanted to talk to me? I'm glad we have this chance to talk. I've wanted to speak properly with you ever since I met you outside of that little Banshee's caravan. I knew who you were, of course. I know all about you, your connection to Cormac O'Donnell and Simon Fox, and I know what you're doing here. You're following the same path I once did. I know you know about them, the Bodark, the men who truly are animals in a way that poor Jamie can only dream of. Werewolves. We're talking about werewolves. Indeed. I call them Bodark because that is what they are called in Russia, where I first encountered them. That's not what they are called there. Maybe out in Siberia or, I don't know, Far East. In European Russia, we'd call them... they'd be called either Oboroting or Volkolak. The fire spits and crackles. We use no electricity here. It's no modern conveniences. That means no electric light. At first that was frustrating to me. I can only write in daylight and the hours I have to write dwindle every day as we move towards winter. And what I have to write is so important. It must be finished. But when I came to understand that it was right and proper for things to be this way, what I write will now become a holy writ. It will be the Book of Revelation or the Black Books of Jung for future generations. I must wrestle with it. I must take time, and I must respect the world's natural cycles. Snow stares into the fire. We've divorced ourselves from those cycles and divisions. Day and night, summer and winter, man and woman. Our technology blurs those things together, makes us into pale, hairless, sexless creatures living in a grey nothing. I always suspected that something had gone deeply wrong in our modern world, that our spirit had become corrupted. But I didn't understand until Russia. So you're a Luddite then? Or a wannabe Spartan? Snow tells you that he became addicted to benzodiazepines 3 years ago. He attempted to quit but could not stand the torment of withdrawal. To try to gain the strength to do so, he went on a shamanic retreat in Siberia. Yep, told you. He built himself a sweat lodge out on the steppes and fasted and took hallucinogenic drugs. On the 6th day of his retreat, he was visited by a wolf that could take the form of a man. This wolf man told Snow that much of what he suspected was true. The world was out of balance. Humanity had separated from nature, forgotten the covenants they had once sworn with the old powers of the world. And to make sure that Snow understood that his visitor was real and not a dream or vision, the wolf man slashed out his eye at the conclusion of their talk. I bear the scar proudly, Snow says quietly. Like Moses, I have gazed upon something forbidden, and I knew what I had to do. I had come to Ireland. When I was here with the Red Branch Knights before, I'd heard the stories about the beast, about sacrifice, and the deaths of Simon Fox and Noriko Hiraoko. Now I understand them. Let's play one of our cards. Noriko Hiraoko isn't dead, although she isn't exactly alive anymore either. Snow looks at you. For a fleeting moment, he appears off balance. You can tell that he doesn't understand what you've said, even though he's trying to conceal it. It worries him that you might know more than he does about these things. But the moment passes, and soon he seems as confident as he was before. I came here to serve the beast. The Bowdark, the werewolves, they are our last hope. They can bring the world back to the way that it should be, restore humanity to what it once was. Fresh, pure, and free spirits, roaming in a lush and untainted world. Yep, as I said, Luddite. Life was never really like that, Snow. Not in the Stone Age, not in the Celtic period. We just idealize the past because it's past. I'm talking of a time beyond those times, Lieutenant Grogan. A dream time. History is a corruption, an invention of humanity. Snow transfers his gaze from the fire to you. I have a message for you from the beast. Go home. There is nothing for you here but heartbreak, loss, and death. Forget the name Cormac O'Donnell. Forget what you have seen here. Go back to London and live your life. He gets up. It's time for you to go. Thinking on his words, you return to the jeep and leave the Red Branch Knight's compound. We are going to ignore Snow's warning, for reasons that we cannot turn aside from the hunt now, and we are close to finding Cormac. Alternatively, we can ignore Snow's warning, because we'd never be able to persuade the others to abandon the hunt, and I can't let them go into danger without me. Because, well, in terms of game mechanics, that is true. We've got low leadership and persuasion scores. But something tells me that the third option is more thematically appropriate, so we'll go with that one. By the time you arrive back at the Wolf's Head, the sun has sunk down below the mountains and there is a chill in the air. You cross the lawn, enter the inn, and go up to your room. There comes a knock at your door. Liam? It's Mare. I'm sorry to disturb you, but you're needed. You open the door. Liam can't sleep. She wants you specifically, to read her a bedtime story. What? Me? Why? She's scared of monsters. She says she knows you hunt them and that you're not scared of them. Mare shrugs. You wonder where Liam got this idea about you. You and the others have done quite a bit of your planning here at the Wolf's Head. Has Liam overheard some of your hunt strategy lessons? Or other sessions? No, I think she's just a smart girl like that. And so you find yourself coming into Liam's bedroom. A little space on the first floor festooned with unicorns, stuffed teddies, and piles of children's books everywhere. A pair of fairy wings is hanging up by a chair along with a glittery, sparkly pink cape. Liam herself is lying in her little bed, the duvet pulled up to her ears. She smiles sleepily as you come in. It's all a sharp contrast from Arthur Snow's lair. Looking around this cozy, safe little room, it's strange to think that just hours ago you were moving stealthily around a cargo ship owned by vampires, risking your life in pursuit of the truth. It feels hard to exist in both worlds at once. Liam has already chosen a story she wants you to read, from an illustrated collection of Irish myths and legends retold for children. This is it, The Children of Lear. You sit down in a chair beside her bed and begin the story while Liam clutches Blakey, her tiger, and squirms around making herself as comfortable as possible. Once upon a time in Ireland, there was a king of the Tuatha de Danann called Lear, and his queen, Aoib. They had 4 beautiful children, and their names were Aod, Fiacra, Con, and Fionnuala. I'm Fionnuala, Liam interrupts. Pretend I'm Fionnuala. You carry on reading. Queen Eob dies, and so Lear remarries a woman named Aoif. But Eoif is jealous of her husband's love for his children. She takes the 4 out bathing on Loch Derbring, the Lake of the Oaks, and there she strikes them with a druid rod, changing them into 4 white and beautiful swans. She curses them to remain in that form for 900 years, 3 centuries on Lake Derbreach, or Derbreach, 3 centuries on the stormy Sea of Moyle between Ireland and Scotland, and 3 centuries on the rocky island of Innis Gluair. The narrative goes on to describe the desolate, lonely existence of the Swan children, spending almost 1,000 years in the most remote corners of Ireland, living as animals, while the human world that they knew The civilization of the Tuatha De Danann crumbles away and strangers come to settle in Ireland. They have each other, until they are separated by a storm on the Sea of Moyle. Fionnuala finds her brothers one by one and shelters them under her wings. Niamh happily cuddles Blake in her arms, imitating the posture of the girl in the illustration. Finally, in the 9th century of their exile, a holy man, Mochaum Hog, comes to Innis Gluair and builds a church there. The children of Lyra are drawn to it by a sound that they have never heard before, the ringing of a church bell. When he realizes what they are, Mochaum Hog sprinkles holy water on the swans and they are transformed into very 3 old men and 1 very old woman. He has time to take their confessions before they die of old age. Niamh has been listening avidly, her eyes wide and dark. "Why did they die?" she asks. "It's not fair. They didn't do anything wrong, and nothing even happened to the bad stepmother." I'm leaning towards either the second or third option. The second being, no, they didn't do anything wrong, Makuchla. But that was the point of the story. It tells us that if we don't protect innocents like the children of Lyra, nobody else will. Or, but the story isn't about Aoife. The story is about the children of Lyra. They died, but they died knowing that they loved each other, that their parents had loved them, and that God loved them. That's all that we need in this life. A little preachy, but if I think about it, not the worst option either. So once again, either second or third one. And if we just say to the kid, "Well, life isn't fair. It's best you understand that now, kid. That's just how life is." It just makes us come off like an asshole. While the fourth option, "It's just a story. It was made up a long time ago. It doesn't mean anything." That's just blatantly lying, because every story has its basis somewhere. So I'm thinking we go with, second option. Niamh is very quiet for a little while. "Do you protect innocents?" she asks at last in an odd whisper. Let's just give a quiet nod. Or be a little more self-flagellated and say, "I try. I really do try." Like a Detective Harry Dubois that I am. Leaning towards the second option once again, but first one seems a little more self-dignified. So first option it is. Niamh accepts this with a sleepy nod. A few moments later, your little cousin is asleep. It's time to meet the others. Kitty, Daniel, and Claudia have gathered in the sitting room, which has become your base of operations in Wicklow. You waste no time explaining what you have figured out, where Cormac has been hiding ever since he returned to Ballyavon. He's underneath us, in the caves under the Wolf's Head. He's been there the entire time. You explain your reasoning. In the 18th century, one of Mad Jack Dunbar's supposed schemes was to dig gold mines all over the valley, a costly undertaking which never yielded anything of value. You've come to realize that these shafts and underground galleries were never mines at all, that it was just a cover. What Dunbar was doing was digging a subterranean network across Ballyavon, all of them connected to his hunting lodge at what is now the Wolf's Head. It was the perfect way for him and his fellow hunters to come and go as they pleased on the hunt, without being observed by the creatures he hunted. Daniel objects. But wasn't that making himself vulnerable at the same time? The werewolves could have used the passages too. You explain that you have learned about the defenses of the Wolf's Head, devices which somehow locked the werewolves into their human form whenever they came within range. Remember how uncomfortable Cormac was whenever he came here? I think that's because even back then he sensed that this was a bad place for his kind. Daniel nods, impressed. When he was a teenager, Cormac spent a great deal of time exploring the caves and abandoned mines around Baliamon. He must have discovered a network of caves beneath the Wolf's Head back then. When he returned to Wicklow, he must have decided to use them as a hiding place. He probably senses how the location weakens and restricts werewolves and will keep him safe from the werewolves hunting him. You also imagine that he wants to be close to his daughter, Niamh, in the Wolf's Head above. Based on what you've seen so far, you guess that Cormac only risks going out at night to hunt for food. Deer in the mountains, sheep in the valley. He must remain sleeping in the caves under the Wolf's Head during the day. It's the perfect time to confront him. But the caves are very extensive and you could easily become very lost down there. There are 4 of Dunbar's mines within a 2-mile radius of the Wolf's Head. You must assume that Cormac uses one of these to come and go for his nightly forays. You suggest that the 4 of you split up and stake them out tonight. You will be able to keep in touch with the earpieces and headsets that Daniel bought. If any of you see Cormac entering the mine you are watching, you'll alert the others and you'll each enter through your own respective entrance. With all ways out cut off, it won't be hard to find Cormac's lair inside. And then? Daniel asks. And then we decide what happens next, Claudia says firmly. You look from one another of your friends. If all goes according to plan, this might be the last time you do this together. Cormac is what has brought you together. After tonight, your hunt here will be over. We'll see about that. Stay cool tonight. We know Cormac's down there. We don't know what else. The others nod soberly. You split up the different entrances between you. Yours is the nearest, out in the woods beyond the Wolf's Head. Daniel and Kitty's are on the opposite sides of Baliamon. Claudia's is the furthest out, a tunnel entrance up in the hills below the Magpie's Nest. That makes you think of Oni. Perhaps you should ask for her help as well. Claudia squints at you. Oni? Is that supposed to be funny? I know she's a little strange, but... Claudia continues to stare at you, and Daniel shakes his head. They look worried. It is left to Kitty to speak. Oni was a joke, I suppose. When we were teenagers, our imaginary friend Oni who lived in the hills. Going to see Oni, Daniel puts in. That's what we used to call going up to smoke a joint in the woods. You're acting like she's a real person. We don't need this weirdness right now. They're serious, you realize. Something has happened to them. They have forgotten Oni Madigan. You feel a sense of fear and panic, very different from the terror that the werewolves inspire. How can this be? You went up to visit Oni with Kitty last Saturday. How can she not remember? But your own memories are starting to become fuzzy. Suddenly you're not so sure of yourself. Looking back, all of your encounters with Oni feel so strange, so dreamlike. Your mind was fractured by what you saw at Glenkildove. Has everything you remember of Oni been a hallucination? You remember that Oni was always terrified of the idea of being forgotten. Or did you simply dream that too? No. I know Oni is real, and I know that just a week ago Kitty and I were speaking with her. Something unnatural is going on here. It's clear that your insistence on Oni's existence is making the others uncomfortable. It's time to focus on the matters at hand. One by one, the others gather up their gear and head out. Claudia has a new acquisition, a tranquilizer rifle, like the one Sister Judith was carrying last week. Got it while we were in Dublin, when she tells Daniel when he raises an eyebrow. Could come in useful tonight. And then it is just you. You go upstairs and are just gathering your things when you hear the front door cave in with a crash. Moments later, there is pounding sound of many footsteps. You run to the window and see 8 guards in black combat armor with riot shields, sidearms, and black rubber truncheons pouring inside the Wolf's Head. These are Special Tactics and Operations Command officers from Dublin, the elite of the service. You've drawn a great deal of attention to yourself while in Ireland, and it has not gone unnoticed. The STOC team know exactly where your room is, and they are heading straight to your location. You have only moments to act. What do you do? First option, violently resist arrest. My work here is not yet done. That's dexterity and firearms. or dexterity and melee. This will be a very hard check. But we have 3s across the board in that one. I leap out the window of my 3rd-story room to the lawn below. That's dexterity and athletics. Also 3s across the room. Or we just, you know, go quietly and wait for the STOC guards, kneeling with my hands on my head, like an obedient little sheep that you are. Honestly, I'm in no mood to become a cop killer, so I suppose we just hit the bricks, get out of here. And the first check does mention that it is very hard, so that'll be reserved only if we were at our 4s. 3s are decent, but 4s are way better for that one. If it sucks, hit the brakes. You stare out at the moonlit lawn underneath you. It must be 30 feet down. The question isn't whether it's gonna hurt. It's going to hurt. The question is whether the fall will kill you. But you can already hear the guard's feet on the stairs leading up to your room. There is no more time to think about it. You throw your window open and leap out. For a moment, all you hear is the wind howling in your ears. You land in a sideways roll. There is still an agonizing sting from your ankle as you crash into the ground. You suspect you've sprained it, but you can still walk, and that's all you need for the moment. There are disbelieving shouts from the window of your room as the STOC guards look out and take in the incredible feat you have just performed, but you are already hobbling away as fast as you can. Minutes later, you are deep in the woods. You've had to leave your earpiece switched off during your ordeal. Too much risk of police equipment picking up its signal. You switch it on now as you walk across a rustling carpet of dead leaves and towards the entrance you are supposed to watch. Your electric torch swinging a beam of light through the trees. Liam? It's Kitty's voice. She sounds worried. What happened? We haven't heard anything from you since we left. You explain quickly. The others are concerned. This isn't good, says Claudia. When we're finished with Cormac tonight, we'll need to get you out of the country. You find the entrance to the mine. It doesn't look like much, just a hollow on the ground, filled with brambles and nettles. If you didn't know the opening to the mine was there, you'd have no chance of spotting it. You conceal yourself as best as you can and begin your vigil. Survivor is deterred by a hissed command from going after any rabbits or interesting scents and instead settles herself at your feet. There is sporadic chatter in your earpiece, mostly Daniel and Claudia bickering, but after a while even that peters out as you all resign yourselves to a long, nerve-wracking wait. It's close to 3 AM when there's an urgent hiss over the headset. It is Kitty's voice. I saw something. Gotcha. Well, everything will be under control before you know it. I saw something. It's like a big dog. A wolf. It must be Cormac. It sounds so strange to say that. Claudia interrupts. Right? I'm going in. Me too, says Daniel. The time has come. Cormac waits in the caves below, along with whatever closure finding him can provide for you. The time for the reckoning has come. Switching your flashlight on, you strike down into the hollow, pushing aside the weeds and stepping into the black opening in the earth beyond them. The darkness swallows you up. And just in time to distribute some of the experience points that we have. How many do we have, by the way? And I'm thinking it's time we put some points into leadership if we do have that option. Or at least, or intelligence. Now if we go to social skills, that's 15 experience points. Now, mental attributes. I think it's time to raise our intelligence to 3. Had to air out the house. Understandable. I will need to close down one window that does not have a bug net when I go to bed, otherwise I will be swarming in everything that is still living in this temperature, including maybe a mosquito or two, which will not be pleasant. So, 15 experience points. We either raise our intelligence to 3, or we go for science and technology, and I suppose awareness. Heat seeped into the walls, made the AC pointless. Yeah, that is a problem. That is definitely a problem. So, what do you think in regards to the skills that we can level up? As I mentioned, the most likely ones that we can, considering we've got 15 experience, would be leveling up our intelligence to level 3. Or, if we go to mental skills once again, would be raising our awareness to 2 and science and technology to 3. Or driving to 2 and academics to 3. Alternatively, maybe it's time to invest in either melee or firearms and bank the remaining 3 experience points until better times. What mentals? Skills or attributes? You have to specificate. Mental skills. Okay. Let's see. And which mental skills specifically, in your opinion? It can be either or rather, 1 awareness or driving, and then academics or science and technology. Because as I mentioned, I'm leaning towards awareness. We can do awareness and academics, or drive it in science and technology. Or any combination of those 4. Because I don't think we need streetwise by this point in time. Okay, we're raising awareness to 2. And then academics. Okay. And we are done with that one. On to chapter 8, Otherworld. Oh, bonny boys, come tell to me what sort of death I'll have to die. 7 years as a fish in the flood, and 7 years as a wolf in the wood. 7 years as a tongue in the warning bell, and 7 years in the caves of hell. Traditional, the cruel mother. If it's an actual song, then we can listen to it at our pleasure a little later, I suppose. Or maybe off stream. You never know when the copyright strikes. You are alone in the dark. The light of your flashlight illuminates limestone walls hacked out centuries ago by Mad Jack Dunbar's hirelings, and now adorned with wetly glistening grey-pink fungi. It makes you think of the caves at Glenkildove. You wonder if the 2 cave systems are connected. Perhaps Dunbar deliberately tunneled into the secret caves to launch a surprise attack on his enemies. It is cold down here. Your earpiece has been emitting nothing but static for the last quarter of an hour, but suddenly something comes through. It is Kitty's voice. Liam? Daniel? Claudia? Can anyone hear me? We're not alone down here. There are things moving through the caves. Heads like deer skulls. I'm hiding from them. Oh God. Her voice cuts out again and the static resumes. Whatever Kitty has seen, you need to find your way through this labyrinthine cave network to get to her. And to find Cormac. Heads like deer skulls, huh? I suppose those would be the cultists from the Red Knight's branch. Now, we can try to pinpoint the location of Kitty's headset from its signal. That's intelligence, and science and technology. Option 2. We will rely on our tracking skills, searching for any signs of Cormac's trail through this area. That's wits and survival. And lastly, we can compose a mental map of the caves as we go, figuring out the correct way through trial and error. That's resolve and awareness. So it's either a first or a third option. 2 and 2, or 4 and 2. And I'm personally leaning towards the second, or rather third one, because it does offer us a little better of an option. 4 and 2 it is. So you didn't fuck this one up. But let's see if the dice rolls agree with you. Relying on your sense of direction and memory for details, you find it easy to avoid getting sidetracked or going in circles and make excellent time through the caves. Hey, you didn't! Congratulations! You've made a good call! And so things have come full circle. Once again, you are moving through the darkness beneath the Wicklow Mountains, all too aware of the pressing weight of the rock above your head. You think of the things you saw down there that summer day. The cave paintings with the antlered woman offering up a baby to a gigantic wolf-headed figure. Was any of it real? Imane, the Algerian woman who led you out of the caves, told you to forget everything you thought you'd seen. She told you that it came from breathing in the fungi growing on the walls, that you could trust nothing down there. And you think of Oni, who once told you that these caves were a gateway to whatever other place the shapeshifters came from. But your memory of that conversation seems to be so vague and confused in your mind now, Oni fading from your memory until it feels like she was never there at all. And then suddenly, you're surrounded by a dazzling brightness. You're in a stone-walled room filled with clear, cool winter sunlight. Looking about you, you see that it must be a library of some sort. Niches built into the walls hold leather-bound books, while others lie open on lecterns dotted around the room. Their open pages show intricate, glorious artwork, angels, eagles, and kings, all bordered with tangling spirals and wheels in gold and crimson. A man is writing at a lectern and underneath the largest window, his hand carefully tracing the swell of a curve. He is dressed in the rough brown cassock of a monk. He looks up. He is a gaunt, cadaverously thin man. His dark eyes above his hollow cheekbones blaze with intensity. "I have waited," he says, his voice a little rumble, "and you have come." He is speaking in Old Irish, and yet somehow you understand him. "What do you mean you have waited? Who are you? What is happening?" I have an idea of who that is, but let's see if the game spells it out for us. He nods. "You have questions. That is good." The monk straightens from his hunched stance of the lectern. "You may dismiss me as a dream, but if I am a dream, what kind of dream am I?" he asks. "If I am of the kind produced by your mind alone, may I not have insights to offer, truths you fear to disclose to yourself in walking? If I am a dream sent by God like those poured out on the faithful during the days of the apostles, then my words are of great value. And if, as I fear I may be, I am a dream sent by the devil, it is all the more important to understand me, and so understand the devil's plan for you." "Why do you think that you might be a dream sent by the devil?" "I know myself for a great sinner. I cannot believe that God would send you to even the seeming of one such as I. If it had been my brother..." He trails off, his face troubled, and it is a moment or two before he looks up again. "My name is Enda. I am the abbot of the monastery here at Glenkildove. I know you have come from far away. I know that we meet in seeming, not in life. I know that you are like me." "You're the abbot?" I heard of you. You're a saint. Is it so? Enda looks troubled rather than gratified. I must hope and pray that it is not, for few know as well as I my unworthiness to be named among the holy ones of God. If I am truly called saint in ages to come, then the devil must laugh mightily. But this is not what I wish to speak of. He seems to shake off the notion of his sainthood. You are a hunter, like me. Like me, you are trying to unravel the dark mystery of Glenkildove and its beast. Like me, you walk the path of vision. Come with me. We have much to discuss and little time. He leads you out into the daylight. You are in the monastery at Glenkildove, a place you have only ever known before the ruins. You remember walking through it with Claudia all those years ago. It is a small cluster of beehive-shaped stone buildings like the one you were just in, all of them built without mortar. A tall Celtic cross carved from stone stands at the edge of the monastic settlement. Beyond you is the lake, the Devil's Cauldron, a black chasm under the slate-gray sky. A couple of young men, their hair tonsured like Enda's, stand out to their shoulders in the water, which must be surely ice-cold. Enda follows the direction of your glance. Novices. They fell asleep during prayers at Compline. They will remain in the water until an hour has passed. Just not long. These young men aren't real after all, just shadows of people who died a long time ago. Enda leads you to a chapel at the heart of the monastic community, which you can see is laid out along a design of concentric circles. Next to it is a round tower looming up 100 feet tall. The tower entrance is some of 10 feet above the ground. A wooden ladder is propped against the wall. Enda points to the tower. Our shelter. On certain nights of the year, when the moon is full, we all must hide ourselves up there, where wolves cannot reach us. For that is when the wolves come down to this valley from the high mountains. We listen to them snuffle and prowl about the base of the tower, and run up and down the valley on swift padding feet, and howl at the sky. The others turn their faces to the wall and mumble their prayers, but I stand at the top of the tower to watch the wolves in the moonlight. That lake featured in Trench Crusade. Ah, very nice. So it is genuinely a holy place for Ireland. What do you see? Unholy. Well, condolences to that one. Things we were not meant to see. Wolves as big as horses. Wolves that stand on two legs like men. They gather, hundreds or more, by the pagan standing stones. I have seen them squatting there, as silent and still for hours as we are at our own mass. It is their holy place too. It's how Ireland got invaded by demons. Ah, I see. Enda disappears into the darkness of the chapel and you follow. It is lit only by a single shaft of light from some high window. Enda is kneeling by the altar stone. He gestures for you to kneel on the other side. I kneel opposite of him, as indicated. After a moment or two, the abbot begins to speak. There are red martyrs, those who have had the glory of dying in the name of Christ our Lord. There are white martyrs who starve and mortify their flesh in order to better know His torment. And then there are green martyrs, those who go out into the wilderness, into the forests and mountains to remove themselves from the world, to better know God. He looks at you. His weary face is illuminated by the one shaft of light. You are suddenly struck by his inexplicable resemblance to Claudia. This man looks nothing like her, and yet there is something in his flashing eyes that brings her to mind. They thought I had gone mad. The fellowship of monks who had come with me after I saw the corruption and sin of our old home, the monastery of Clonmacnoise, and shook its dust from my feet. Only my young brother Eamon, my brother in blood as well as in Christ, never doubted me. I led them further and further east into the mountains, away from the dwelling places of men, and I told them that we would build our church here, in the black wood by the lake. Some of them left me then to return to the world. They said God had forgotten this place. Some of them left me then. They said that the valley belonged to the wolves. They said that the standing stones here still stained with the blood of the innocent. They said that the caves beneath them went down to hell itself. You think of Simon. I talked about this once, a long time ago, with somebody I used to know. Did you want to test your faith against the demons out here? And the sheriff shakes his head wearily. Eamon thought that I meant to cleanse this place. Perhaps once I did so intend. But the longer I stayed here, the more I understood that God's plan for Glenkildove was different. If God had wanted the wolves slain, the standing stones uprooted, fire and sword brought to the caves, and whatever it is that walks deep down here, he would have sent a destroyer, a holy warrior. But he did not. He sent me, a scholar. He did not wish for me to slay the beast of Glenkildove. That task, if it is ever his will that is to be done, will belong to another. He wished for me to understand it. He wished to understand it. I understand. I feel the same way about Glenkildove and the beast. And the nods. He returns to his story. We began work, Eamon and my last remaining followers, on building ourselves a home here. We began with this chapel, but every night the walls we had begun were torn down by devils in the dark. Men went missing, gone I know not where. The rains fell and turned our foundations to mud. We were hungry, tired, and sick. Our prayers were unavailing. God is great and God is mighty, but there are places, and Glenkildove is one such, where he is very far away. Many wished to return to Clonmacnoise, to beg forgiveness of the abbot there. Eamon knew my heart. He knew that I could never leave this place, not until I'd learned its secrets. And we all knew of the old ways, the ways of the druids before us and those who came before them. If we were to build and live here in safety, a sacrifice was needed, a gesture of respect to those who live in this place. He volunteered himself. I accepted. When we dug the foundations of this chapel, yet again, Eamon lay himself down within them, and we covered him with earth, a living sacrifice here under the altar stone, so that I could know the truth of Glenkildove. We're taking this in. Was it worth it? Enda looks away. He resumes his story. Our sacrifice was accepted. After that, the walls we built were left alone and no more of us disappeared, provided we took to the tower on nights of the full moon. But I still dream of Eamon. Most nights I dream of him. He tells me of what lies beyond death, but the words he speaks are horrible blasphemy. Like you now, I do not know whether it is a dream, ascending from God, or the devil, or the spirits of this place, or whether it is in truth my brother. I have paid a terrible price to be a hunter. I know that you have too. I have spent 6 years here trying to earn Eamon's sacrifice, wrestling with this place, trying to make it give up its secrets to me. I have been down to the caves 3 times, each time going deeper, and seen things there that I should not have. I fear that my next descent will be my last. From the tower, I have watched the wolves at their moonlight mass. I have been out among the whispering pines and up to the barrows on the cliffs above, and spoken there in the darkness with the Danan. I have written as much as I dared of my discoveries in the secret annals of Glenkildove. Where will you hide these annals? And the frowns. Let us first see whether you are worthy of reading them. They cost me dear. I will not give them away lightly. Enda looks back at you. I tell you these things that you may judge me. None but those like us, those who have walked our path and had to make the same choices, can judge us. And so I will judge you in turn. You are like me. If you need to fight these creatures of air and darkness, you will. And if you need to bargain with them, you will. But your real desire is simply to know them. You wish to record the things you see, as I did in my annals, to tell the truth in the world of them. I do not believe that the world will heed you. There are some things that those who have not been to the dark places where we have been will never believe, that they cannot ever believe. You are like me in many ways, and I was true to the hunt, even though I betrayed my God and my brother and my followers. Were you? Enda stares at you, and you know those dark eyes are drinking in your memories. You are a warrior, one who served your king in battle overseas. Many of your kind see the things of the dark world as just another enemy to dispatch. But not you. Why is that, I wonder? Enda continues. You have learned much since your hunt began. You have learned many secrets and uncovered many mysteries. I have done what I can, but so much remains unknown. That is the way it will always be. Despite the grave danger, you risked your life simply to gaze upon the thing that stalked you, to see the beast of Glenkildove for yourself. You needed to know it, no matter the cost. That is the mark of a true hunter. From the beginning, even before the death of Simon Fox, you sought to understand. You gathered books and lore of the dark world around you and studied them to decipher their secrets. I wish I'd learned more. Maybe I could have saved him. Perhaps nothing could have saved him. You have aligned yourself with the seekers of truth known as the Arcanum. There is much as yet you do not know of them. They existed even in my day. They can help you greatly on the hunt with their vast library of secrets, but never forget that there are many things they are not telling you, and that they will kill to keep certain secrets. Wait, they've been around since your time? That's over 1,000 years, isn't it? Yeah. Certain secrets? What are you talking about? I speak of the white monks, but I may say no more. There are secrets more dangerous than those of Glenkildove. Suffice to say, if you ever venture deeper into the mysteries of the Arcanum, beware the white monks. Whenever there was an opportunity for you to learn more, you took it. These are the instincts of a hunter. When you learned of the dead thing Noriko's family on the far side of the world, you did not try to use them against her. Instead, you watched and waited, keeping it to yourself. This is the kind of patience that the hunt requires. I'd rather have kept the family out of it altogether. That is a noble sentiment, my friend, but it cannot be this way. Not for a hunter. We need to learn everything we can, spying on all like Asmodeus. We can consider nothing beyond our remit. You learned the truth of the young girl Niam's heritage, despite the deception of your kinswoman Mare. You did well not to trust her. I still trust Mare. She had her reasons for not telling me the truth. People will lie to you. All the time. They will lie to you. You spoke with Trina Heller when you were afforded the opportunity. This was wise. We hunters can only learn from the mistakes of those who have come before us. She seemed to know more than she revealed to me. She seemed so damaged, not just her eyes. Enda nods somberly. I can see clearly now. Achieved the vision edge. Enough. I have seen enough. He looks at you. His expression is hard to read, but you recognize respect. Respect and a profound sadness. It is clear that you are my heir, the child I could never have had, a true hunter after my own nature. You burn with the same fire I did. You long to bring light to the world's dark corners. It is the knowing of it that matters to you. And if I thought it would avail, I would beseech you in the name of Christ our Lord to turn aside from this path. You see what following it has done to me. It has consumed me. It has corroded my faith. It has brought death and suffering to all who lived and trusted me. I am counted with them who go down into the pit, in darkness, in the deeps. I have seen things I should not have seen. You should gouge your own eyes out rather than risk becoming like me. His voice rises to a hysterical pitch as he finishes, but moments later he has collected himself. He shrugs. But it will not avail, will it? Because I received that warning so many times while I walked that path, and I would not turn aside either. I smile sadly. You're right. I won't turn aside. Not now. That time has passed. He accepts this with a weary nod. Enda dips his fingers into the font of the altar between you and rises. He touches his wet fingertips to your eyelids like a blessing. At the end of my life, I will bury the secret annals of Glenkildove in a place known to us both, in the deep bogs. You alone are worthy to read them. Now go. Go and bring the light of truth to dark places, and remember Brother Enda in your prayers while you yet live. Light explodes across your eyes, and for a time, you know no more. You've gained the vision edge. Saint Enda himself has recognized you as a kindred spirit, seeing in you a similar drive to uncover dark mysteries and the insight to bring hidden truths to light. This will give you a significant advantage in any checks involving research and investigation. Yes, we are being true to ourselves. Also, let's see if it is an actual person. Huh. So it is. Saint Enda of Aran. His feast day is 21st March. Enda was a warrior king of Oriel in Ulster, converted by his sister Saint Fanchia, an abbess. About 484 he established the first Irish monastery at Killarney on Innismore. Saint Enda is described as the patriarch of Irish monasticism. Most of the great Irish saints had some connection with Aran. And the music abruptly stopped because, well, apparently it did reach its end. Funny how that works sometimes. Let's see, legacy. Patrick Pierce named his bilingual boys' school Scoil Anna, or Saint Enda's School, in honor of the saint in 1908. Ballyboden has a Gaelic Athletic Association club named after him, Ballyboden Saint Enda's. Omagh Saint Enda's Gaelic Athletic Club is also named in his honor, and in 2011 members of the club paid tribute to their patron by visiting his church in the Aran Islands before 150 meters of the club cycled from Galway to Omagh. St. Enda's College Secondary School in Galway is also named after him. St. Enda's GAA in Glendormley, County Antrim is also named for him. See also St. Enda's Well and St. Brendan's Stone. But I digress, let us continue where we left off. Before we do that, where is it? There. Third edge. Vision. Creed. Martial. So yes, we are indeed a warrior monk. Keen on knowledge. You wake up in total darkness, lying on a cold, wet stone floor. You fumble on the ground beside you until your fingers close in on the haft of your flashlight. You switch it on and look around you. You're still in the cave, surrounded by gnarled limestone. Perhaps you simply fell, hit your head, and experienced an unusually vivid dream. But if so, something about that dream has stayed with you, even become part of you. You feel stronger now, more sure in your purpose. You stride off into the darkness, determined to finish this night's work. Turning a corner, your light catches a pale face in the darkness. It's Oni. But at first you do not recognize her. Her body language has changed completely. Instead of hunching and slouching, she is walking tall and erect, her shoulders thrown back and her back straight. Her white gold hair is unbound around her shoulders. Her expression is lofty and disdainful. It changes to a half smile, lips parted to expose white teeth when she sees you. The hunter! And have you found that which you sought? It's dangerous down here, Oni. You shouldn't be here. She shakes her head, white gold locks tumbling. Not Oni, not she. My name is Melukra of the Sidhe. Oni and I made a deal, long time ago, and now comes the time that she must keep her promise. Think no more of Oni, hunter. She is lost and gone forever. Is this why everyone has started to forget she even existed? Yes, I prefer a blank slate. Oni, or Melukra, tosses her head petulantly. I tire of this, and I want to know if you enjoyed my gift. What gift? What are you talking about? You're a hunter. I have seen many of your kind come and go through the Valley of the Black Wood. Some sought to slay its beast, some sought to understand it, some to bargain with it. I wanted you to understand what has gone before, the failures and triumphs of your predecessors. I wanted you to be able to play out your part in this, the last act of our little drama. So you caused the vision I just had. How did you do that? She shrugs dismissively. We have always been able to give mortals such gifts in the Isle of Apples. It is easier down here. Caves and barrows have always bordered our realm. Melukra smirks. I want to help you become what you are, just as I want the Garu of Glenkildove, the ones you call werewolves, to be what they are. Hunter and hunted, predator and prey. Your positions revolve until one cannot tell the dancer from the dance. Do you know what the beast of Glenkildove truly is? Tottenham of the Arcanum thinks it's some kind of patron spirit. What the beast is, really, is a reminder. This is a small island, hunter. Its enchanted woods, the sacred groves of oak and the stands of witch elm have been felled. Its deep bogs have been drained and the earth broken by the plow. Black tar swallows up the old paths of the hills. A net of eyes, your closed-circuit cameras, is thrown over the country and squeezed tight. Even the churches, once the proud and mighty foes of my kind, stand empty. Your people dream of neither the Isle of Apples nor the paradise of the saints. What use are the poets to such a barren, sterile land? Romantic Ireland is dead and gone. It's with O'Leary in the grave. She nods. Yes, most of the Ireland's latter-day poets are just pale shadows of the masters of the past. But Yeats, he should have been born in the time of our glory. He would have been a court bard to the Sidhe. She strides about you, her head held high. Here and there, some things linger. There are dark places like Glenkildove that the people fear. There are glimpses of golden eyes shining in the darkness, howling late at night. Every now and then, there is a murder, a violent, terrifying murder. This fear is rich soil, hunter. It will nurture a new generation of poets and monsters, storytellers and killers. Goddamn Fae. My friend Simon was killed at Glenkildove. It wasn't inspiring or poetic, it was just horrible and sad. Wasn't it inspiring? It inspired you. Melukra smiles. Have I not said that you have your part to play in this? What is a mystery without the detective? What is the dragon without St. George? What is Grendel without Beowulf? You are the hunter. You inspire hope, the same force that pushes green shoots through the frozen mud every spring, and the thought of your reckoning brings uneasy dreams even to the oldest and mightiest among those you hunt. Bring the reckoning. Yes, I would have you bring it. The Garo of this place forget themselves. They would return to the old ways. I cannot allow this. Glenkildove is my domain, and the shapeshifter's plans would destroy that delicate balance of wonder and horror I have taken such pains to establish here. You will stop them. Think on what I have shown you. Think on the lessons it taught. And when the time comes, be true to your nature. Bring your reckoning. Why is the balance so important to you anyway? What's your angle? There are some things which mortals, even hunters like you, cannot know of. Now, I have done what I can for you, and I have urgent business far from here. Fare you well, hunter. Perhaps we will meet again someday. That would be diverting. She turns to leave. You know now that you will soon forget Oni Madigan, just as Daniel, Claudia, and Kitty already have. Even the role she played in your hunt will fade away to nothing. Unless there is something you can do. Some bargain you could strike. Do we make a deal with Faye? Ask them to restore Oni, that manic pixie dream girl? Or do we leave the things as they are? All very poignant answer. Not answers, questions. That's what I was looking for. On one hand, making a deal with Faye is never a good idea, but on the other, Oni came in at a clutch 2 times for us. Maybe 3 even. And yeah, it is tough. I can't even flip a coin for that one because it is tough. Be more towards not messing with a Fae. Then we say nothing and let her go. Best that Oni be forgotten. And just like that, Melukra is gone. Who is gone? You find yourself wondering a moment later. Why did you stop for so long? Why is there dancing for a moment to the back of your mind the image of a girl with white blonde hair and large haunted blue eyes? You shake off the strange dreams of this place. It's time to get moving. Turning a corner, you make out a light at the end of the next tunnel, just in time to turn out your own. 2 men are striding down the passage towards you, one of them grasping a flashlight and the other a machete. They have not seen you yet. Both are wearing headgear made from the skulls and antlers of deer. Their eyes underneath the yellow-white bone glow with a maniacal, unblinking fervor, and a faint sheen of sweat covers their faces despite the cold of these caverns. You think you recognize them from the Red Branch Knights campsite. How will you deal with these men? Try to hide in the shadows and let them pass by. That's resolve and clandestine. Could work. Option 2. I will ambush them and try to take them out as quickly as possible. That's dexterity in firearms or dexterity in melee. Also a decent option. And finally, I will try to talk my way past them. Manipulation and persuasion. That's definitely a no-go. So, do we fight our way through, or do we remember... So, do we remember the basics of sneaking, or do we remember the basics of CQC? I am leaning towards remembering the basics of CQC. And I'm hearing no complaints about that one, in at least a little bit. You're with sneak, huh? Then I suppose now is as good of a time as any to flip the coin, and I got one right over here, conveniently, so best out of 3. This one's gonna be for sneaking, and this one's gonna be for fighting, so let's see. 1, 2, 3. Fighting. Okay, that one didn't count. Sneaking. And... oh, fighting it is. You wait, pressed against the side of the passage until the Red Branch Knights are almost on top of you. Then you emerge, both barrels pointed at them. They never have a chance. You blow a hole in the chest of one and the face of the other. Stepping over the corpses, you carry on down the passage. Shotgun! Some way down the passage, you almost trip over a woman, sitting propped up against the wall. She is breathing painfully. She appears to have been shot in the gut. She is tall and broad-shouldered. There is a mass of dark curly hair around her strong, hawk-nosed face. You recognize her at once, despite all the time that has passed. This woman dying from down here in the darkness is Imane Mokrani, who once led you out of the caves of Glenkildove. She looks up. Recognizing you, she strains to speak. You ignored my advice. You came back here to Glenkildove. I suppose I always knew you would. I knew you'd become a hunter. There is something about your eyes, your scent. Can't miss it, not if a person's met your kind before. We gotta learn to recognize you. I'm looking for my friends. Kitty, Daniel, Claudia. You remember them? Do you know where they are? Imane shakes her head silently. She takes a gasping breath. The Red Branch Knights. Snow's creatures, but Snow himself is just his creature. He sent them here to find and capture Cormac O'Donnell. Their leader, Jamie, has a gun with silver bullets that Snow gave him. He's already shot me with it and he's looking for Cormac now. He hates Cormac almost as much as he hates you. Wait a moment, who is this he? And why does he hate me? He is Rory Hannon, the youngest and the most dangerous of us. In him, the cruelty of the cities meets the cruelty of the wild. He knows no law, and he hates you because you captured Eamon. Rory believes that werewolves are superior to humans. He has to. Even though he despises Eamon, it makes him furious to think that you could outwit one of the Garu. The name sounds familiar, and it takes you a moment to place it. Rory Hammond was the boy who went missing last year, the one whose foster father you spoke with last week. And I indeed thought about the fact that Cormac is not the bad guy in this story. And yes, turns out Rory is the one. So I was partially correct. Even though I never voiced it, it was all in my head. Her voice hoarse and unsteady, Imane unfolds a terse secret history of Glenkildove between the gasping breaths. Her kind have always been drawn to Glenkildove. It is a sacred place for them, watched over by a guardian spirit. They lived openly alongside humans who dwelt here in the prehistoric era and reached an unspoken understanding with the monks who replaced them. But the arrival of Mad Jack Dunbar and his obsession with hunting wolves and later werewolves shattered the pack. Dunbar and his followers were highly effective and dangerous hunters, armed with weapons that his prey did not understand and were not ready for, such as the devices buried deep under the ground in these tunnels, which rendered any werewolf incapable of using their powers. In just a few short years, Dunbar had all but wiped out the pack that made Glenkildove its home. The survivors managed to band together to kill Dunbar, but irreversible damage had been done. Dunbar loved to target his prey while they were in human form, surrounding their homes and setting them alight, suborning their friends and family and turning them. The result of this that the survivors of the Glenkildove pack never again lived among humans or adopted human identities. They became entirely creatures of their own world. Most of their oral traditions and laws had already been lost. Dunbar had killed all the elders before they could pass this lore on. Even the guardian spirit of the place changed, becoming the scarred, vengeful beast. Imane came to Glenkildove in the 90s. She wanted to help restore the pack here to its former glory. She found just a handful of ragged scavengers living in the hills and woods. Old Tom, the half-feral old tramp, the former jockey Eamon, and later on the fierce, enigmatic Grey. When Cormac awakened to his true nature and killed Simon Fox, Imane tried to reach out to him, but he rejected her and fled where she could not follow, to the teeming Dublin underworld. Old Tom did warn us to stay away from Glenkildove, so he was trying to protect us in that sense. But tell me about Grey. She was born in captivity. She knows less of humans than any of us, even old Tom. Imane continues the story. She controlled the pack in those days and had hopes of rebuilding them, but this changed with the arrival of last year of Rory Hannon, the foster child whom Deacon McAllister had raised. Rory, like Cormac before him, was drawn to the stone circle at Glenkildove. It spoke to his true nature as a werewolf. When he transformed for the first time, though, on the foggy night that he disappeared, Imane was there to initiate him into her pack. But Rory, it seems, had his own ideas. There is a deep, deep well of cruelty in him. Imane isn't sure whether he was born with it, or if it comes from the hellish circumstances of his upbringing, but he is extraordinarily ruthless and determined to make the human world suffer for abusing and rejecting him. He declared that the only way to restore the Glenkildove pack was to return to the ancient ways of culling and human sacrifice during the 4 high festivals of the year. He quickly won over old Tom and Grey. The former had long since lost touch with his humanity, and the latter had never really considered herself human at all. Neither Imane nor Eamon agreed with Rory's ideals, however, and so the pack was split. Rory has found a willing human servant in Arthur Snow. He has convinced him that by helping Rory return Glenkildove to the ancient ways, he will be taking the first step in restoring the purity and power of humanity's spirit. By secretly dosing them with psychedelic drugs and putting them through a grueling array of physical challenges and psychological torture, Snow has brainwashed his Red Branch Knights into a state of numb acquiescence. They will kill and die for him. The uneasy balance of power within the pack was altered last week when Cormac O'Donnell returned to his old haunts. Rory was delighted at first. Just as Deacon McAllister told you, Cormac had been a hero and an inspiration for Rory. He cherished his idea of Cormac as a wild, untamed beast, killing Simon Fox in a frenzy of rage and hatred. But when Rory tracked down Cormac, he was disappointed. He found instead a broken man, filled with regrets. Rory goaded him into a fight and the two of them clashed, but the fight was inconclusive. Driven into a frenzy, Cormac ran into the night. It was in this state that you encountered him at the O'Donnell farmhouse the night that you returned to Ireland. And we shot him in the chest. Almost cut that bastard. I am already mentally assessing this new information. Clearly, Rory, Snow, and their Red Branch Knights will need to be dealt with. Now, Rory has discovered Cormac's hiding place and sent Jamie and the Red Branch Knights to find and capture him. He wants Cormac there to witness the first of the human sacrifices at Samhain, to make Rory's triumph over him complete. Imane, desperate to reassert her power within the pack, went to try to warn Cormac, hoping that she could persuade him to join her and strengthen her faction within the pack. Instead, the Knights found her. Following Snow's orders, Jamie shot her with a silver bullet. She suspects that Rory will blame you and the others. Imane's breathing slows and her eyes close. Just then, your headset crackles to life. You hear Kitty's voice, whispering and terrified. The deer-headed men. They're everywhere. They have knives. Their eyes are horrible. And they're looking. I think they're trying to find Cormac. I'm hiding in a little side room, a place with a well in the floor. But I think they're going to find me soon. Daniel's voice breaks in. Kitty, I think I know where you are. I passed it earlier. Stay right where you are. I'm going to come get you. There is raw anguish in his voice and the thought of Kitty in danger. You don't think you've ever heard him sound so frightened. Now it's Claudia who's speaking. Daniel, think straight. You can't do anything for Kitty right now. You're as likely to get both of you and her killed as anything else. You should just stay where you are. And Kitty can't stay where you are. You can't stay where you are. Keep moving. Of course we're gonna side with Claudia on this one. Kitty, you keep moving. And you, Daniel, stay where you are. I can't! Kitty protests, her voice rising with panic. I can't! Kitty, calm down, Claudia urges. They'll hear you. Then the signal cuts out once again. You look down at Imane. If what she said was true, she considered herself an ally of sorts to humanity, or at least not an enemy. It's possible that if you stayed to help her, you could save her life, or harvest genetic material from her which you could sell to Fauda or publish as proof that lycanthropes exist. But do you have time? Does Kitty? If we try and offer Imane what help we can, that would be intelligence and survival. I don't like those odds. So in this case, we can stay to gather genetic samples from Imane. I'm guessing that'll be blood. We leave and try to help Kitty, or we try to be a heartless bastard and finish Imane off by ourselves. I am leaning towards the second option. If Kitty dies, then so be it. Knowledge is important. In this case, that is. Well, knowledge is important overall. You take out the kit you got from Fauda and begin gathering samples of Imane's hair, saliva, blood, and skin, placing them in vials taken from the case. You label each of them and then restore them to the temperature-regulated case. Imane must have died at some point during the collection process, as her body is rapidly cooling by the time you finish and pack everything away. You get up and go, your precious cargo stowed away in the case. The tunnel opens up into a larger, high-roofed cavern into which a number of tunnels open. It is lit by blue LED lamps placed on the ground, and its roof is supported by oak beams. Two of the Red Branch Knights, the shadows of their antlers twisting and writhing in the strange blue light, are holding a struggling Kitty in front of Jamie, Snow's lieutenant from the Knight's compound. He is pointing a gun at Kitty. They must have discovered her hiding place. Jamie's face is ugly and distorted within blue light. Sweat is gleaming on his forehead. Whatever visions he was experiencing down here tonight, they seem to have all but destroyed his sanity. He appears to have made a decision. He squeezes the trigger. There is an explosion. Kitty slumps down between the knights, and they let her drop to the ground. As expected. There is a roar of rage and grief, and a dark figure leaps from the shadows to tackle Jamie. The two struggle for a moment, then Jamie's gun goes off and he falls to the cavern floor. His attacker grabs it and shoots the knights dead, one after another. He turns in your direction. It has been 8 years, but you recognized Cormac O'Donnell at once. You run over to where Kitty lies. Cormac is kneeling by her. You can tell at a moment's glance that there is nothing to be done. She is still conscious, but she will die within moments. Kitty is struggling to breathe as a dark stain spreads across her chest. She recognizes you and smiles shyly. Is that Cormac with you? Is he okay? Is everyone okay? Time to say our goodbyes. Please forgive me, Kitty. I should have got here sooner. She shakes her head. You did everything you could have, and I'm glad you're here now. Otherwise it would have been lonely. And she dies. Kitty! Daniel must have followed the sound of the struggle. Now he bursts in through one of the passages, his eyes fixed on Kitty. Kitty! Oh god, no, 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 no! He falls to his knees by her body. Cormac approaches him. Daniel, I tried to save her. But But Daniel is up on his feet and has grabbed Cormac by the collar before he can finish. You. His face is stained with tears, but his voice hoarse. It's because of you she's dead. You killed her like you killed Simon. He strikes Cormac in the face, but then lets fly with blow after blow. Cormac lets his gun in his hand drop. He makes no effort to defend himself against Daniel's onslaught, even as blood begins to splatter across Daniel's knuckles. Right, Daniel, you better stop this foolishness. We're physically stopping you from doing that. You grab Daniel's arm and he struggles with you angrily. Daniel, stop! It's Claudia. She too has arrived from another tunnel's entrance. She's aiming her tranquilizer rifle at Cormac and has taken it in the situation at a glance. I'm so sorry about Kitty, Daniel. She was always the best of us. I think we all knew that. When there is time, we'll mourn her properly. And I know you want Cormac to suffer, and he will, Daniel, but it can't be this way. If you kill him, then Kitty and Simon will have died for nothing. Nothing at all. You have to let me put him under instead. Tell him, Liam. Daniel turns at the sound of her voice, but he barely even seems to register her presence. Instead, his gaze falls dully on the gun that Cormac dropped. He picks it up, cocks it, and aims at Cormac. It is clear that Daniel is on the verge of shooting Cormac. Cormac has once again made no move to defend himself. Oh boy, let's try to tell both Claudia and Daniel to put down their weapons. We're neither going to kill nor imprison Cormac, because Cormac, if you recall correctly, has his part to play. Let's see if we can do that. What? Daniel demands. You can't be serious. He tried to save Kitty, Daniel. He risked his own life trying. Cormac looks as stunned as Daniel. Liam, I don't deserve this. You know that better than anyone. I'm a monster. I killed Simon, I killed that man back in Dublin, and I almost killed you at the farm. You should let Daniel kill me. You have a child, Cormac. That's reason enough for anyone to live. Meanwhile, Daniel has let the gun drop once again. All of the anger seems to have suddenly drained out of him. He kneels down by Kitty's body and begins to cry, racking ugly sobs. Cormac kneels down by him and impulsively brushes a lock of dark hair out of Kitty's face. She always hated looking a mess, he mumbles. He looks at Daniel. He seems to be about to say something, but then simply stretches his arms out. Daniel hesitates, then accepts Cormac's hug. Cormac holds him as Daniel cries and cries. Meanwhile, the fallen figure of Jamie twitches. His eyes flicker open and he coughs up blood. Claudia spins, gripping her rifle, but Jamie is clearly dying. He laughs, a hacking wet sound. You didn't even kill him? What kind of fucking hunter are you? Honestly though, it don't make much difference. Maybe it's even better this way. Better than he lived to see it. But he lived to see the dawn of the age he could have been part of if he hadn't been such a fucking pussy. What are you talking about? Asks Claudia levelly. Jamie laughs again. Cormac O'Donnell. Fucking waste of space from all I've heard. Took the gift he was offered, took the gift of his birth and did nothing with it. Degenerate fucking drug addict. Coward. But somewhere down the line he had a child. And that's the one the Snow wants. That's the one the man wants. The man who's not a man at all. For our Samhain sacrifice. A firstborn child needs to be sacrificed to Crom Cruach, the beast of Glenkildove, at Mug Slecht, the place of adoration. It'll inaugurate a new age. Who better than the child of the traitor to see it in? He laughs as he sees the confusion, the dawning realization in your faces. We didn't come just for him, he says with triumph. We came for his daughter. We came for Niam. Looks like we've reached the end of that particular chapter too. So in that case, how much points do we have to spend? 10 experience points. And the price keeps going up. So if we go for physical skills, that means we can level up only Clandestine and Survival. if we go for mental, that leaves us with awareness, driving, science and technology. And if we go with social, God forbid, that'd be practically all of them, but I don't think we need any of them, maybe besides leadership. So, looking at the time, this will be our last call for tonight as to what we need to level up. And then we can finish it, at least for tonight. The story may be a little predictable, but it is very nicely written. It's good. I can recognize the curves it takes, but I like it. I genuinely do. So if we go with physical skills, because we're definitely not leveling any of the attributes. So if we go with physical skills, we can level up only survival or clandestine. And I'm guessing you are tending towards clandestine. So, what's it gonna be, huh? Clandestine, huh? Clandestine it is. But, there's always a but. But go off. Yes, only 10 points. And we'll be banking 1 point for whatever reason. Might be better spent somewhere else. Yes, which is why I am looking at our mental skills and considering going to make our strengths even stronger and leveling up science and technology. Or awareness, at least. So, what's it gonna be? Science and technology or awareness? In your case. Or rather, in your opinion. Science and technology. Alright then. Science and technology it is. And on that note, we are gonna call it for tonight. As I said, I am immensely enjoying the story, and I hope you do too as well. But I'm gonna bow out for tonight. See you tomorrow. If nothing else comes up, we're gonna be playing Mechanicus. For now, see ya.